Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie Bree. I am a transgender woman and I talk about all things horror. And today we're talking about the horror slasher? Question mark? Pearl. Pearl is a prequel to X, which is from, I believe, A24. And if I'm not mistaken, they came out the same year, like within 6 months of each other. So, yeah. Not really sure where to begin. I do believe I have already talked about X, which is, I'm going to say required viewing before you watch Pearl. Otherwise, you're going to be fucking lost. Because this is not a horror movie on its own. It does not stand on its own. It absolutely requires having previously seen X. Otherwise, it doesn't really make sense. There is the backstory or the build-up to Pearl as a, and I'm going to spoil this part of the movie, serial killer. Because she is the killer in X. Going into the movie Pearl, blind, without knowing that, you're confused because she's already a killer. There's very little build-up. Because they really want to get into the what the fuck happened and why did she go bonkers off the rails murder spree. Which is exactly what this movie does. Now, unlike X, which is an homage, if you will, or a ripoff, depending on your perspective, of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Pearl is an entirely different movie. It is a roughly 2-hour movie. And the first, I want to say 90 minutes, are not a horror movie at all. They're more like a late 30s MGM Disney-esque family movie. They really are. It's kind of like a Swiss Family Robinson with a demented girl who is struggling to find her place in the world. Light on the humor, but it is present. Initially, light on the kills, although she does murder, spoilers, trigger warning, an animal up front, right off the fucking bat. She spends the vast majority of the movie just basically crying about her life. Mostly, she is from a family of German immigrants. It is during World War I. It is around the tail end of the Spanish flu era. Her dad, they live on a farm, by the way. Her dad was afflicted and paralyzed as a result of the Spanish flu. And because of that, her mother is deathly paranoid of germs and does not want Pearl going outside the house at all. And Pearl's a young woman whose husband, a newlywed, whose husband went off to fight in the war. And so she's very alone and frustrated and just tired of living on the farm. So, and I'm going to spoil a little bit, but I don't want to spoil it too much. But she essentially meets a man who she does cheat on her husband with. But due to his reaction to her reactions, let's just say his trepidation regarding her is what triggers her to go full-on murder. And from that point on, the movie turns into a pretty by-the-book slasher. For the most part. Now, there is an extremely intense, some could argue, excruciatingly long 7-minute monologue smack dab in the very last 20 minutes of the movie that is going to make you uncomfortable to watch, but also really get inside her head. I would argue the monologue and a handful of scenes are the highlight of the movie, as well as the cinematography, which is amazing. And the acting is pretty good, actually, pretty solid acting all the way around. The characters don't have names. Pearl has a name. Everybody else is pharmacist or mother or dad or projectionist, etc. So you don't really get to know any of the characters aside from Pearl. But because the movie's called Pearl and it's about Pearl, you don't need to know any of the other characters. She's it. She's the star of the show. And mild spoilers, that is the plot of the movie. She is delusional and thinks she's a movie star, or at the very least, destined to be a movie star. And she is so obsessed with this idea of becoming a movie star that literally anybody that even suggests she can't make it or doesn't have what it takes, she kills. That's basically what triggers her. The deaths are not nearly as graphic nor nearly as iconic as the kills in X. That movie is a standard by the books slasher, so it's defined by the kills, absolutely. And top-notch kills in that movie, by the way. This one, not as much. This one's more defined by Pearl's descent into madness. And the reaction her World War I veteran surviving husband has when he comes home to discover his little old farm girl wife is actually a serial killer. So that's the gist of the movie. Do I recommend it? Abso-fucking-lutely. I will say this. I like Pearl more than I like X. I loved X. I'm going to repeat. I know it's going to probably deter some people from watching my X review, but I'm going to repeat right here. X is a buy. Go buy it. Go watch it right now. And immediately after you watch X, watch Pearl. Don't even wait. Don't waste any time. Just make it a double feature. This soon-to-be trilogy with the eventual release of Maxine later this year has got me pumped. I am hyped for Maxine now more than I was. I was sold on Maxine based on the teaser trailer alone. But now knowing the full story of Maxine and Pearl, I'm in. I want to know more. And you should too. I highly recommend Pearl. It is absolutely a buy, and it is a watch it immediately. As soon as you're done watching this video, go watch Pearl.